Great to see you. Yeah, Charles Latora. I decided since Tolemykus isn't here to give us a quote for the week, I thought, well, you just gave us a little whatever, so you'll be the stand-in. I'm just gonna hide it. Great to see you, Charles Latora. Great to see you, William Arends. Hope you're doing good. Happy New Year, obviously. Meandering Mike, great to see you. Operating on only about an hour of sleep. Holy Lord, left in. Good luck, and if we don't see you in about a few seconds, well, then I'll know why. Great to see you as well, Hex to Hex. I hope you're doing well. I don't know if you're still able to wiggle in the odd little bit of golf, but if you are, good luck to you, man. Okay, so we're going to go straight off to the show and the narrative, and then from there on, I'm going to kind of go through the narrative, like scroll it relatively quickly, because I think you guys have probably clued in by now that Meandering Mike. Yeah, no kidding. I think you guys have probably clued in by now that every week my talking eyeballs, or whatever the hell you want to call it, are way bigger than an hour-long stomach than I have. Brian R. Smith's here. Awesome to see you, man. Good health and happiness for 2025 to everyone from cold Montreal. Yeah, I know it's that's over with too. I know I was kind of sneaking or whatever, cheating and looking ahead for Monday morning when I go to bike to work, and it's going to be -18 or something like that. I was like, oh my God, please, no wind. Anyways, let's go. I'm going to go through this quickly, and then I'll go back to the top, and then we're going to start. I'll start trying to hammer in one at a time. Yeah, Charles Latora, I'm so flippin', I've mentioned this to you a ton of times. I'm so flippin' glad that you, and Tolemykus did it this week too as well. I was kind of like, whoa. But you are like such a serial commenter for the World War I daily headlines. And when you this morning asked, hey, what kind of, and I knew you were going to do that, man, when I posted that article a couple of days ago about the British plane, that super plane supposedly. And I knew you were going to probably ask what the name of that plane is. I didn't go and look it up. Well, I did look it up after you had mentioned to go say, hey, what kind of plane is that? I think I figured it out. And it's like I said in the comments, I think it's a doozy. I was like, holy smokes. Yeah, in the article, the guy says, I can't remember his name. Oh, darn it. Faulkner, Lloyd, Light Lieutenant Lloyd Faulkner, I think. He says, oh, I can't name the name of the plane. So I was like, okay, this is a detective story, and off I went. So there we go. Just going to, yeah, like I said, with the fact checker and interesting tidbits, all these type of things. Like I said, we're just going to go, I'm just going through here super duper quick to show all the things that I would love to talk to you guys about, you know, and find out what you guys think about these things. But as per usual, we only got 60 minutes, and oh my God, yeah, Meandering Mike. Remember you commented a few weeks ago there when I was mentioning about that during the war summary, the after hours war summary, and I was like, what the hell? I never even heard of that thing of the squadralia or whatever, and you were like, oh, that was a term, whatever. Anyways, there's an actual board game of this on BGG, and I just thought I'd give it a shout out to you. So there we go. A few other, that's it. There it is, Charles Latora. I think it's a Bristol M1, and hopefully we'll get to it. It was a monoplane that didn't see a heck of a lot of action. It did see some action in Mesopotamia and whatnot. Trust me, man, it was not, well, I'm going to say not easy. It was fun to try to find it, is what I'm trying to say. So there we go. And that's the video of the week. It's pretty good as far as I'm concerned. It was neat to take a look at Winston Churchill, youngish, full of vanity and whatnot at some little picnic thingamajig or whatnot. He knew full well these, you know what I mean, everybody's staring at him kind of, well, obviously when the camera is, for God's sakes, that type of stuff. So here we go. Just like I said, we're just going to go super duper ultra quick, and then I'll go back up to the other thing. The onus game, though, if anybody knows about the onus game straight off, that seems rather interesting. It's not World War I-ish or any of that stuff, but I just thought it was kind of neat. Yeah, Britain's, I don't know if you can see this thing. It's not the greatest looking cover in the world. If you can see it over here, Britain's clandestine submarines, 1914 to 1915. This is a second printing. So that's not the original cover. I picked that up yesterday, as well as the July 1914 book. Also picked that up yesterday at the Book Bazaar. Both are going to be this month. There's a July 1914 by Emil Ludwig. I didn't know anything about him. Found his foreword rather provocative yesterday when I was reading it. That's what actually got me to buy the book. And then afterwards, I looked him up, and I'm like, "Holy F! This guy's from Germany." He did a well. He does mention that he did a book on Kaiser Wilhelm and that type of stuff, but he uses like actual history and a little bit of fiction or something. I don't know. He tries to do some kind of like a little, this book is based on or whatever. I don't know. The Captain Blakey case. Remember that was the thing there that William Arends you brought up on the ATA a few weeks ago. We never got around to it, but I did queue it up. And I did want to also talk about the Captain Blakey case. That was the guy from, darn it, I can't remember the name of the ship. Starts with an A, I think, but well, we'll look it up. No, an M. But we'll look it up later on. That was the one that got nailed by got torpedoed by a sub, as far as I know, and the ship, as the ship was sinking, though, the captain tried to ram the bloody submarine, and he ended up getting taken by the Germans captive, remember? And they were going to execute him, and everybody freaked out. And then the Germans were like, "Okay, we'll consider that ship an armed merchant ship or something like that. I don't know, whatever." The World Undone 1914 Serbia. That's from Conflict Simulations Limited. Oddly enough, I didn't pick it up, but I saw the actual title of this flipping book yesterday at the bookstore. I thought that was so cool. And Charles Latora is thanking you, Brian R. Smith. You probably can read it anyways, but tough. I like putting your comments on the screen. Yeah, I got to see that book yesterday on the thing, but this is not what it is. Somebody mentioned some questions on BGG. The reason why I'm bringing that up is I was one of the playtesters for that game, and I kind of cringed a bit because I was like, maybe I didn't do such a good playtesting job because, this person's asking questions and whatnot. The Consim World Forum update, there's a ton of new updates on there. At first, it didn't clue in. I was getting a little upset. I was like, what the hell's going on here? I'm just being a little dink. Because, I'm trying to be towards the Great War. And I'm like, why are all these interwar games being posted on and then I realized it's to 1934 or something, or 1932. So I'm like, Chris, shush. It's totally valid that they have the interwar game postings in that section. Anyway, so there we go. Well, let's go back, go to the beginning, but we will. Yes, anyways, So I was listening to Not So Quiet on the Western Front, one of the Spotify episodes a couple of weeks ago. And just my brain, I've never heard of Nimi Bridge. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of Nimi Bridge, most likely due to the fact if you're American or whatever. Oh, Gamers with Coffee, Ashley, great to see you. Happy New Year. Hope you guys, you're doing great. It is super nice to see you. So anyways, I was like, and then I was like, oh my God, Nimi Bridge. But of course, I'm a Canadian, and all I know of is Vimy Ridge. But it was interesting to hear this weird, different thingamajig. The world was never close to coming to ending the war early. This is my opinion. All the shenanigans. I'll say this. From what I've been reading so far and whatnot, I would say they came close to talking about getting close to coming to the end of the war early, but I don't think it was ever not even. As far as I'm concerned, when I start getting upset or start reading these books and all this stuff, and they're like, oh my God, they were so close to coming to the end of the war, to ending the war early at the end of 1916. I'm like, no, they weren't. As far as I'm concerned, way too many players, man, on both sides. Good God, I guarantee you and I, right now, we probably couldn't even agree on the next game that Charles Latora should play, for Christ's sakes. There's only, 5 of us here or something like that. So you know what I mean? I'm saying that, and then that's not even an emotional whatever. I mean, this is like real people's lives. That's where I'm going with it. Germany's repeated attempts to get Japan to switch sides, this is all new to me, blew me away. I had no idea, as well as the fact that Japan was playing this little game for a while as well, because they knew. It almost felt, to me anyways, it felt a little bit like Italy, the way they were trying to do the thing here. Oh, cool. Great to know that. Okay, I'm just popping that in. Poof. And then I'm going to pop this in. Chris, I agree. The Entente didn't want to end it. Yeah, I know. To be honest with you, Charles Latora, I don't think even from what I've been reading right now, like even with Austria, they were a bit irked. Like when I started reading this peace note, you know, like remember that Bethman Hoveg read out and sent off and whatnot, and like early December 6th or something. And I was thinking, okay, it's a peace proposal. No, it's not a peace proposal, not even close. It's a proposal to start proposing peace. There's no nothing there. So I can see at the very beginning why, you know, when I was going with the, you know, the Entente, like balking and whatnot, I'm like, yeah, I can see why they are. And like, as well as when you start reading it, it's the flavor certainly seems like, okay, when Germany's won the war, when Central Powers has won the war, then, you know, we're that type of feeling. I was like, I can see where they're coming from. But I mean, Austria, like, for example, was even pissed, supposedly, the way it was worded. They wanted a bit more specific stuff. I think they were hurting a lot more than Japan did not know. Curious. I know Charles Latora, man. It's all kinds of stuff. Is Greek becoming a bad word? Oh, yeah, I said we're going to be scrolling here. So here's the, no, that's the intercession day. I got the wrong one. Yeah, I had never heard of the word intercession day. I don't know about you guys. Oh, Tolemykus, there you are, man. Wicked. Good to see you. I had to use Charles Latora as a fill-in for your quote thingamajig. Now, hold on here. I have to find, oh, there it is. Now, I don't think this is what they're trying to say, but I'm going to stop the screen so I can present it. We're 11 minutes in. We're not, oh my God, freaky weird. It's 11:11, but you know, just freaky weird. There we go. Okay, good. And now I'll get rid of me so you guys can see this full on. No, I okay. And then I'm going to go to the width, and hopefully you can see this. I'll make it bigger. Oh, perfect-ish. Now, it's on this side here that it's an article, as you can see, from the 4th of January. And it was the football professor, same as the Greek. And I was, what the hell what do they mean by that? I don't think they really mean the way I thought it was, in the sense I was like, oh my God, is Greek becoming like a bad word, like AKA Charles Latora, the way I'm sorry to say, but you bang on about how like Greeks, what good are they right now? You know, from what when you're reading the headlines, so good on you, man. It's your opinion. But so, anyways, I was looking at that and I was like, just wondering, is like, are people like kind of being like back in the day, kind of like Charles Latora? I'm sorry, Charles Latora, if I'm doing that. I just I put on the wrong. I removed the wrong person there. Sorry, I thought I was adding. No, we're good. Okay, so I'm going to. We got rid of that, and now we're going to show that day thingamajig that I had, and then we should go into the trivia thingamajigs. Hold on here. Okay, Charles Latora says. Where is it? Intercession Day. I hadn't heard about this thing. If you maybe you guys know about Intercession Day, I certainly had never heard about it before, so I had to go and look it up. And it was this article that I had seen here: little festivity in London New Year's Eve. They start talking about congregations are large, blah 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 blah, and then like I said here, no, I can't do that one. We'll stop the screen. But I wanted to show. Hold on here. Someday I'll get really good at, or I hope someday I get really good at using streaming software, and hopefully free streaming software, or a hell of a lot cheaper than StreamYard, but it's good for now. Yeah, I was here that intercession or intercessory prayer is the act of praying on behalf of others or asking a saint in heaven to pray on behalf of oneself or for others. I'd never heard of anything like that before anyway, so I was like, I don't know if that is December 31st. Used to be Intercession Day. Maybe it still is with some religions. I don't know. The Basel Conference in 1912. Let's see if I can pop it up. Yeah, I think it's actually straight up on a, hold on here. Charles Latora says, I'll try and find my history encyclopedia and see if there's any comments in there about Germany trying to reach out to Japan to switch sides. Yes, that would be excellent. Thank you. I know there's some wiki entries in it, but I mean, there's a whole other aspect of stuff that we don't know. Yet again, always, I'm the same way as well, though. I mean, so Euro focused towards the Great War, and it's like, my goodness, there was a hell of a lot going on all over the flipping place. To prevent war, we're probably not going to show. It's just I put it in the sources and links if you want to go and take a look at this. This is I'm not sure if it was from Germany only or whatever, but I think this is like a kind of like a left-leaning. Well, it was on the Marxist website. That's where I got this from. To prevent war manifesto of the International Congress of Basel, and it was I guess in reply to the German peace note and all that stuff, and also Wilson's reply to that note, and the Allies back, a lot of back and forth going on right now. The term winging, actually, let's go quickly to that, because I want to, at least that way you guys can go and see the other slang words. I don't see why not. Hold on here. But there is one website I had to load up and keep loaded up for flipping sure, because it was not happy. It took 300 years to load up. It was nuts. I'm gonna get rid of me. And then I'll talk about winging. Yeah, the reason why I'm bringing up winging is because I keep noticing it all the time in the articles when they're talking about winging. Well, one of the articles this week was about talking about the British winged this many planes, and I guess it means brought down. I couldn't find it here, but no. But I did find it. I don't know if Brian R. Smith's still around, but I thought this was rather interesting, and I guarantee you Brian R. Smith knows full well what I'm talking about. World War I slang that's faded into history, and it says here, frog, French soldier. I'm like, well, you live in Eastern Canada, Quebec, Ontario, that is not a slang word that's faded into history. It's still used in a bad way, kind of thing. Trench rabbit, I thought that was totally cool. For flipping sure. But anyways, that's it. And I just wanted to show that a little bit. I'm going to stop that one here. I just wish you would leave the... no, I want the narrative. Is this the narrative? Yes. It's Quebec. Yes. Exactly, Brian. When I saw that, I was like, and they're like, oh, it's no longer used. I'm like, well, maybe, I don't know where you're from, but it's certainly, I've certainly heard it a few bloody times. So there, we saw that. Prince Oyamo, I'm just going to show him quickly if I can grab him. Got all the links here. Still haven't done the trivia thing. We're gonna get to it. Trust me, man. We're gonna get to it. I just got to pop it into the thing here. Now, he was an article he was mentioned in an article a few weeks ago, and I was like, I don't know who you are, obviously, but he. Oh my gosh! Hold on here. I got to. I'll say great. Good afternoon to you, WNN. Hope you're doing well, and don't forget to let us know when your book tour is going to be happening over here, because you said it's going to be happening in the spring. I want to know, and I would like to advertise it, for goodness sakes. So anyways, this guy, Ayawo, anyways, I can't pronounce him properly, but anyways, he was mentioned. He had just, well, as you can see here, he just died a few weeks ago. Supposedly really, really important military thinker and whatnot. I would assume had something to do with the Russo-Japanese War. Was a follower of Clausewitz. Knew about entrenchments. That's really all I know. I just wanted to, well, like I said, it's part of my little interesting tidbits thingamajig. Let's go back to the next thing that I have on the interesting tidbits thingamajig. And we'll see how we can go there. The Vienna Blood TV show on PBS. Yes, thank you very much. And get free buck money even silent. That's not what I'm trying to do. That's not what I'm trying to get after. But I'll advertise the living dickens out of your stuff for sure. Just found out about this morning because I'm a subscriber to PBS, and they, every Saturday they send me a weekly just for you kind of a thing. Even though obviously I know it's not just for me because they're sending it off to millions of people or whatever. Should we risk it? Let's risk it. Let's see if I can find it. We're just going to do like a few seconds. Why not? Oh my God, 20 minutes in. Let's just look. It's 2025. It's a different time of year. Let's hold on here. All right. Stop the screen. I can present the screen. So anyway, it's the reason why I haven't watched, obviously, any of it yet. I just wanted to, share it with you guys. And I was thinking, you know what? Maybe this is going to be an interesting way of, hold on here. I'm on WNN. I'm going to be, it will change every 7 days this year. WNN, I have not been to your website in a few days, so I'll have to go and check. I know. I think I haven't been there since you were saying, "Oh my God, I've been posting like a maniac," or I posted all the way to March, and I'm about to drop dead. I will go, but I don't want to BS you. Anyways, the reason why I wanted to show you this is there you are, Harro Bosma. Great to see you. Happy New Year, everyone. Sorry, a bit late. No worries, man. Awesome to see you. The reason why I posted this is because I was like, hey, maybe I can get a bit of a feel for what it was like back in the day. I think what they said 1900 or 1903. So anyways, this is in Austria, but let's just play a tiny bit.
I know that look, Max. You've made a mess, and now you need my help cleaning it up.
Something like that. Something deeply dangerous is happening here. You first.
She catches us. This was your idea.
I thought you'd wash your hands of me.
I want your help, Clara. I'm offering to let you in on a crime story.
We've been to very dark places, Max. But this is beyond my comprehension.
This is just beginning.
That looks cool. I know who would love what I don't know if you guys saw that. I hope you did, and heard it as well. Is Zoe Dufour is probably going to lose her flipping mind. I'm sure of it. So anyways, let's get back to the present thing. Let's do the trivia thing pretty quickly, though. Let's go straight off to your first clue. I think that'll get things going. And we've got enough people here. All right. So here's your first clue of who or what am I for 2025 in World War I. So I became a reluctant item due to the naval blockade. Who or what am I? And Brian R. Smith says, I came across a YouTube video posted a couple of weeks ago. Was it what war as it really is? Historic World War I combat footage from the front looks good. Holy F. Okay, thank you very much. Meandering Mike, me with the ears. I hoping means that you were able to hear it. I hope that means. Hold on. We got people already popping in questions here. Hold on here. Tolemykus. Torpedoes. Oh, what am I doing? I can do your little thingamajig here. Oops, did I not? No, I thought there we go. Okay. Tolemykus, you are incorrect, but thank you for guessing. And Gamers with Coffee says oil. And you are also incorrect, but you're getting a point. And your second clue is going to be troops were more important than people at home, and that's why I showed up more and more in people's lives. Who am I? Or what am I? And let me go to, while I'm doing this, I don't have to do this. I wanted to, Charles Latora says animals. You're going to get a point, Charles Latora, but you are incorrect. Yeah, let's do this one right off the bat. Tolemykus says, Charles Latora says rats. You're going to get another point, or a trench rabbit, as we found out what they're called. You are incorrect, but you're getting a point. And Tolemykus says murder. Oh, geez, I like yours. Oops, hold on here. I got to get down here. It's doing some wacky things here. Oh, I like that one, but you are incorrect, Gamers with Coffee, Ashley. But you're going to get a point. Hold on here, Harro Bosma. You're Gonna get that one. Cockroaches. You are also incorrect. Oh, geez, do I ever like that one, Meandering Mike? But you are incorrect. That's a dandy, actually. And Harro Bosma's fleece. The problem is these are all probably real, or you know what I mean. They could all be correct ones. They're just not the ones I'm looking for. And hold on here. Okay, I did that one, and then the next thing is mortality rates spiked soon after. Who or what am I? Gamers with pigeons, Coffee, Ashley, and Greg. You're going to get a point, but you are incorrect. And man, are you ever pumping in the points lately? So hold on here. I want to present this screen. This is what I wanted to show you guys, because they're all free, for goodness sakes. And obviously, this is just Great War related books. And as you can imagine, there's probably 4 trillion other books available free on different subjects. It's just obviously I'm focused on the Great War. And Gamers of Coffee, geez, you're pumping out the question, the whatevers, but you were also incorrect with Spanish flu. And Tolemykus says famine, oh boy, but you are incorrect. I'll give you another clue then, people. And this one is morale plummeted throughout the country and showed just how harsh conditions had become. Who or what am I? And Brian R. Smith says tuberculosis. Shoot, do I ever like that one too? But you are incorrect. Hold on here. I'm going to give you a point. And Manny Mike says digitalis. You are incorrect, but you're getting a point. Bosma says syphilis. You are incorrect, but you're getting a point. Another one too. Charles Latora says plague. You're getting a point, but you are incorrect. WNN says rationing. Oh, you're what do you call it? Orbiting, but you are incorrect. And William Arends is putting in that one, and you are incorrect. Okay, and now I'm going to give you got not too many things, so here I go. Oh my gosh. Well, when I give you the last clue, if nobody, you're all going to like fire into it, I'm sure. It's so cool, Clive Telemachus, that you put that down in as soon as I just popped in the clue there, as well as WNN. But you guys are both incorrect. But you can see why I'm like getting all excited there. And Harro Bosma, actually, that's a good one. But you are incorrect. Just due to the fact you guys are also, well, you can see why I was getting excited with what you guys were saying. Let me go back to that thing here. Yeah, pillaging of food and riots became common as many people wanted more than me. And I'll give you one more clue before I give you the real or the final clue. It's got a lot to do with this winter. How's that? WNN says bread. You are incorrect, but you're going to get a point. And interestingly that you say that, because you're going to get another point there. Hold on, Eric. I got to pop you in. Where are you? Because you've been doing it. You've been putting them in. And William Arends gets another one. And you're getting that one. And Charles Latora is getting another point for coal. You're that one. And Jesus, it's so cool to see how people are whatever. And Meandering Mike says pudding. You can't have any pudding. Oh, I love it. You should get a bonus point for that one, man. And here's your last one, and here comes all the answers, I guarantee you, or the correct answer, or whatever you want to call it. I used to be only given to pigs. Who am I? Harro Bosma says turf. You're going to get a point. Hold on here. And the maniac, I'm sorry to say, but the person who's running away with this, Brian R. Smith, is turnips. Yeah. Hold on, I gotta give you a point. And then William Arends says corn. That's interesting. Neat though, where you're getting a point. I might as well give you a point anyways. So that's it. No, Charles Latora, I'll give you a point as well. And Harro Bosma says potato. Yeah, as neat that you mentioned that. Oh, look at all the freaking comments that are coming here. I'm just gonna fire them off so everybody can see here. I'm just gonna go quickly. It's like a bazillion, man. You guys went nuts. Thank you. I really love this type of stuff. So boink. There. So, and yes, the answer was turnips. As you probably guys know, there was not you. That's the best. That is the best for flipping sure. I know, actually, there, you guys can see the open library thingamajig. Anyways, like I said, I popped this in the sources and links. It is insane, the amount of books. Of course, they're all electronic, so if it doesn't bother you reading it that way, then go for it. But it's nuts. Harro Bosma, I might as well keep that as a permanent banner. It seems lately. It's been nuts, man. It has been nuts. Yes. And I'll get rid of the thing, and then we can go back to there. Yeah, so it was a really rough. Yes, the answer was turnips, 100%. And there was, from what I've been reading, anyways, with the turnip winter, even afterwards, it permanently seemed to have affected the diet and the recipes or whatever later on of a lot of the people in that area. But at the very beginning, anyways, gastrointestinally or whatever, it was a nightmare. And it was neat that UWNN and indirectly and directly Harro Bosma, hold on, mentioned bread and potatoes, because at the time when food was starting to get really bad, and there was also, I can't remember who also mentioned wheat, was the fact that the Germans and whatnot were trying to substitute wheat with potatoes into the bread and whatnot, and then and so on and so on and so forth. You've never eaten it. You've never eaten a turnip in your life, Brian R. Smith says. He's wowzers. Well, then you're probably where, like a lot of people as well, looking at the thing is saying it's a poor substitute, not a great, very high in fiber. There you go. Do I ever eat turnips? Yeah, once in a while. I think, once in a while, like mashed turnip or whatever in potatoes and what. But it is certainly a strong flavor, let's be honest. Okay, so we're going to stop that. Let's get me back to the present the thingamajig again, so I can see where what narratives I was supposed to be yabbering on about. But I'm glad we got through that bit. That was really cool. Hold on here. Now we can buy potato bread. Neat. I don't know if I've even ever had it. Okay, so we've shown you that. The co-op, oh yeah, that was just a weird thing, man. I don't know. Meandering Mike says, undercooked turnips can interfere with your thyroid. Really? Whoa! Oh my gosh, all this new stuff to eat potato. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna have to go and look it up. This freaked me out. I was reading one of the articles this week, and they had cooperation written that way with the two dots. And you guys have known that we see this lots of times, with wordage and the way they've spelled things back in the day. Like, for example, they did today, TO with the minus sign or the hyphen or whatever the hell it's called. And then, DAY, that type of stuff. I thought that was kind of neat. I wouldn't mind trying to do that with it. Anyway, so I just thought that was neat. I'd never seen cooperation written that way before. I was like, whoa, that was totally cool. Update on which World War I related games people have been playing. That would be Austin Diacritics. Oh, I like that one. Well, as you know, I just started playing the Tannenberg test game series. I'm not going to say. Well, actually, hold on. What am I doing here? I'm letting you guys see both or whatever. Look, obviously, I'm not going to say I can do a bloody. I can do a review about it right now, in the sense I've only done the combats for the Russian turn. I'm just about to do the Austro-Hungarians and the German first turn. But okay, in 4 combats, listen to this. Pretty brutal, man. These exchanges, you guys are used to this type of CRT. I'm not. So I'm not used to this exchange bit where, yeah, so I have to kind of read it. It's rather interesting. But so there's been 4 combats, and the Germans have lost 1 corps, Russians 4.5 corps, and the Austro-Hungarians 3 corps. The thing I like about it so far, like I said, I've only been playing a tiny bit, is already with that 3 hex supply length restriction. I can't go running a mile a minute, and I'm already starting to run out of range for certain things. So I can't start doing all kinds of things that I would like to do, which I'm like, you know what, right on. Because I was a little worried at the very, very beginning. I'm like, this is just going to be a generic combat game that you know, they just kind of slapped on the Great War kind of thing, you know what I mean? And that's not really the case. So I was really happy about that. When doing the title match for Scholarly Works cataloging Procourse, we had a nightmare time dealing with diacritical marks. Interesting. And I don't know. I'm gonna have to look this up because I don't know what in the world you guys are talking about. You want to know how naive I was? I'm not kidding you. When I saw you write Tolemykus diacritics, I was thinking you meant us talking about food, that we were being potato, bread, or flour critics. So there you go. Like, oh my God. Like diet. You get the whole idea. Lord have mercy. Anyways, let's... Oh, sweet Jesus, jumping, Mother of God. So you guys can see this, the engagement question of the week, which may be a good idea to go and fire off to, because the other stuff, and like it'll be extremely gamey oriented, which is, I'm asking you guys this out right off the bat, is, I always felt that it was a little strange to see an English word. I wasn't reading your thing here. So hold on there, thing. English words of German. Okay, neat. Thank you. And it's called an umlaut. Didn't know that either. No, it's what the word for the symbols. Okay, thanks, man. I had no idea. Yeah, like I said, I'm like naive beyond belief. Do you own and have played a Hex Encounter Great War related game that would be considered a monster? Now, here's my criteria for this. I want to try to, when you answer that question, to pick a game that is as much of the world as possible. So in other words, don't pick me, this was just the Western Front, or you know what I mean, that type of thing. No, I want the full on. So let's go to BGG and show you the, and if I did this properly, it should be all right. Because I was smart enough, I think, databases hate diacritics because not all of them have all of their characters mapped in computers. Yeah. Well, as you can see as well, I mean, you select a different font, and next thing you know, they don't have a clue, and they try to substitute it with something funky. All right, so if I do this properly, I should, and I'll get rid of me, and then I'll make this a bit bigger. So what I did ahead of time was, like I said, I tried to go and take a look at those criteria of what I just gave you. And if I did it properly, it was these guys off onto the side here, and we can go one by one, and we should be able to see them because I went back, like I kind of popped them in. So the first one that I know of, and you guys, and if you guys know of other ones, please let me know, or if you've played any of these ones. I have not, but I'd like to. What I want to eventually get down to yabbering on about with these monster games is try to figure out which one would be best overall. You know what I mean? This has got the best overall components, whatever. It doesn't take 300 years to play. It's not Uber simulation, but it's not like Uber simple and so on and so forth, that type of stuff. And there we go. Nice. Okay, so there's one. There's the first one that I popped in that I know of that I would consider, like I said, a Hex Encounter, Great War related monster game. And if you guys disagree with me or whatever, please let me know. So that's the first one that I see in my criteria land. The second one I popped in is this one. And you guys probably, like I said, just let me. This one I'd never seen before. Maybe you guys hadn't seen before as well. Is this one? It's a Swedish book, a Swedish game, and it seems like you can get all the. I think we could actually, like, I think if somebody spent enough time. The only World War I game we've played is the Trench Knife, and it's on BGG. Yeah, and you guys did a freaking awesome job, man. It knocked my socks off. You remember when Greg was asking me for like, oh, please let me know how you think about our, your videos, because we respect what you do. And I was like, it should be the other way around, man. The quality was like jaw dropping. I was like, holy smokes, it was entertaining beyond belief. World War I is small form factor. Okay, thank you. But anyways, I think there's a possibility of being able to leverage or make this game if you wanted to do it, which is exactly what I did with the Tannenberg test game series. How the hell do you think I got that game on my table upstairs? I went to BGG here and went berserk, and then went off to SPI downloads page and got the rules there. That's how I did it. So as you guys know, the Guns of August, and I was watching Mark Ruggiero do this game. It got me interested. He really liked it. Still got me intrigued when I started mentioning it. I was absolutely dumbfounded how many people have played the Guns of August, and didn't seem to. Few people have said, well, be wary of it or whatever, and so on and so forth. But I was like, I've got it upstairs, and I'm really, really happy that I got it for a really half decent price. I'm really happy about that. Okay, so what else have we missed? We did that one. I got to make sure that I'm not. Did we do? Ifra Airman is great to see you. Avalon Hills, 1914. Thank you for mentioning that. Due to the fact that it's all Jim Dunnigan design that I found out about when I was upstairs at the Tannenberg test game series, and as for what I know, it's like by the way, I hope you're doing well, Ifra Airman. With blue and pink, really? What I thought was a head scratcher at the time, because I didn't realize that Jim Dunnigan had made the Avalon Hill 1914 game. And he's like, oh, by the way, if you want to link this game up with the Avalon Hill 1914 game, you can, you could do it. He's like, even though the scale is 16 kilometers per hex, the Tannenberg one's 24, so on and so forth. I thought, wow, that was pretty neat. The largest World War game I have is Ted Racer's The Great War in Europe, which is that Hex Encounter game from. And you know what, William Arends? I'm pretty darn sure that's one of the games that Hex to Hex gifted me, which is I got to remember. Maybe people don't read as quick as I do, or whatever. So there you go. I thought it was pretty neat. Okay, so we're gonna keep on trucking down here. I didn't show you. Did I show you this one? Yes. I can't remember which ones I've shown you. So didn't show you this one. I don't know anything about this one. But like I said, it popped up in my criteria of being a big enough game. Hell's this? There we go. So you guys can see some of that. Whoa. Now that is some saturation. Holy smokes. Holy cow. All right. Let's get back on to 15 minutes or nowhere near. Maybe I have to stop. You're darn right they will. As long as they, like I said, well, what am I saying? I'm not like the whatever. Brian R. Smith, if you think they count, they darn well they count. That's the way I'm looking at it. Compass, the biggest I've ever played is Empires and Alliances, but it doesn't cover the whole world. Yeah, well, a lot of these don't do they. You know what? We've got 50 minutes. We're still okay-ish. Let me take a quick look while you guys are not seeing it. I'm going to do the see all bit, and you guys can look down and go, hey, I'll get rid of Charles Torres thing. There we go. Brian R. Smith says, strategy tactics number 29, Tannenberg, the opening guns, August 1914. My God, I'm so glad you mentioned that, Brian R. Smith. That in the sense that, also that I saw a Barbara Tuchman book. Well, it's the Guns of August book. Yes, I've seen it a few weeks ago. I did pick it up yesterday. It's not here. I had too many books to bring home on my bicycle, so I had to leave some at work. But anyways, it's just called August 1914. I was like, what the hell is this? I don't remember her writing a book of that, but it's, I guess the publisher decided to use a different title, which I thought was totally cool. Axis and Allies 1914. And by the way, Ephraim, and I don't know if you know or anybody else, right now you can pre-order a 20% larger map for Axis and Allies 1914, which I was considering doing if I wanted to. Yeah, oh, does it really? Okay, I'm going to have to go and take a look then. Anyways, here we go. So 45. Yeah, like I said, I want to look at the narrative and make sure there was something, if there's really something really ultra cool. Oh, there is. Okay, let's hold on here. I wanted to show the, this is it. We'll go next week. We'll continue looking at a hell of a lot more. There's a bazillion monster games to look at. But I also want to, like I said, I want to give a shout out to people for, you know, mentioning things. So there you go, Meandering Mike. That's that thing. Remember where you were mentioning about when I said, oh, I've never seen the word squad or whatever the hell. Like it wasn't exactly like that, but I was like, whoa. And you said, oh, that was a word they used to use, but it came out of style. Anyways, I just lost my marbles when I saw that. I went, what the hell? Just nuts. Hey, gang, I used to play SBI Dannenberg back in the day. Now I have a passive lawyer. Great to see you. Hope you're doing well, man. And there you go. Squadrilla, thank you. Yeah, I was like, so anyways, I saw that the game. It was almost like the next day. I went, what the hell is this? And of course, I don't know if you guys can see that, but that plane on the right-hand side is a Spad, which is a beautiful, beautiful plane. And the Zeppelin, the first battle over Britain. Oh, cool. But Jeepers Jumping. I wonder if I have that upstairs. I just haven't, some things I haven't looked at. Okay, so we did that. Yeah, I want to, before we go off into the week that was, here we are. So this is another shout out to you, Charles, well, to people who contribute, for Christ's sakes. And you guys can see this. World War I Italian submarines. Anything you ever wanted to know about World War I Italian submarines, go to this bloody thing, man. It's just nuts. Oh, Charles Latora, you got that. Neato. Anyways, and of course, you can go off and find out about a zillion other places here. Like, take a look on the right-hand side there. If you can. Well, I know it's not very big. Maybe I should have made it bigger. Sorry. Hold on here. There you go. Look at that. Anyways, it's in the sources and links. So you guys can go berserk if you want to. In this person here, I want to ship 3 reasons why I want to bring him. One, to get him more subscribers.
So, for example, you could.
And when you say Italian submarines, I start screaming, wicked. This guy here, Jonathan Townsend, I've watched, actually I communicated with him a few times when he was doing some The World Undone East Prussia games. And he was having a bit of difficulty. But anyways, I was watching his thing on Storm of Steel, and it blew me away, the word that he used at this. And I was like, I've never heard this before. I'm really intrigued by this game, guys. The Storm of Steel, really intrigued by this. But he uses the word evocation. He goes, you know what? He goes, this game, he goes, I wouldn't call it a simulation. I call it an evocation. It evokes the feel of the Great War. And I was like, wow, what an interesting way of putting it. Anyways, I got his thing in the sources and links. So there's 3 shout outs. 1 to him, 2 because of the game, and 3 of the evocation. I thought that was a really cool way of putting something. We got 10 minutes. I'm still doing okay, I think. Oh, shit. We didn't do the video of the week, and I really do want to do the video of the week. We got 5 minutes. If I go super quick, we're all right. I think so, because all the other stuff is kind of like, yeah, because I can talk about that next week, and I can do that yet again about the look at the maps from Crowns in the Gutter. And I did the Internet Archive. I did the other stuff I wanted to show. Okay, we're going to show you the Onus game because I think let's get into that a little bit. We didn't do the airplane thingamajig. Now, remember, I think I can, is it this one? I think it could be. Okay, now, Charles Latora, the problem I had at first, and I got super excited. I got the speed wrong. When I was looking at the article, it says 128 miles per hour. And I thought it said 138. And I'm looking through, and I'm like, the only one that comes up at that around that time of year is the SPAD 13. I'm like, my favorite plane. Charles Latora wanted a question about my favorite plane. But no, first of all, as well, the SPAD's a freaking French plane. And they do mention it's a British build. So I was like, okay, you got to look for a British build. The best I can find that seems to meet the criteria for that guy, like I said, Flight Lieutenant Lloyd Faulkner, I'm pretty darn sure that's his name, would be this plane here, the Bristol M1. It's a monoplane. If we look down, it's around 130 miles per hour. It seems to hit all the right numbers for what he's talking about. As well as that, he also mentions in the article, it's like it's a bit hush-hush. I can't mention the things and so on and so forth. And they were just starting to do that around his time. So I'm curious. Like, I don't know, but I'm going to go with that one, is what I'm saying. So I'm going to stop sharing that bit, and then we better just start getting awfully darn close. I wonder if I have. Okay, we'll do the week that was. Except, hold on here. Did I pop in the ATA too? I wanted to show a little bit of William Arends' thing because it's got something to do with the Captain Blakey thing that I wanted to bring up a few weeks ago. I keep mentioning it, and he did have an article on it, and I lost my marbles. And it's the Caledonius. I think I got the letter wrong. I said AM, and then it's actually the Caledonia. Charles Zeppelin has a Luftwaffe field tool with secret mission assignments for both sides. Suspect it's not solitaire friendly. You know, and you pop that in though. I will say this though, is that I wish, let me see if I can find it here. We'll just share it now. Is that I so hope I can find a game like maybe that Tannenberg from Dr. Combat Simulation. Meandering Mike knows his proper name. To try to find some kind of game where we could just do it very simple interacting, which would be kind of nice. I'd love to do that. So anyways, I think this is about the Caledonia. In the Mediterranean Sea, the Caledonia, blah, blah, blah. Despite that attempt, and just before our U-boat was about to be rammed, fired off a torpedo that hit the steamer and sank it. The U-boat was only slightly damaged in the encounter. 2 passengers on the steamer were found to be high-ranking English officers, Major General Ravenshaw, who had been relieved as the commander of the 27th Division of the Army at Salonika. Whoa, cool. And the adjutant of the General Staff, Bickerman. I don't remember them ever mentioning that in the English newspaper. It was just about how dare you do what you're doing to Captain Blackie, which I think is kind of neat. So here we are. The steamship captain, James Blackie, was captured as well. All 3 of them were taken prisoner by the U-boat. And the attempted ramming of that U-boat, though unsuccessful, it's still been done with a criminal intent that obviously cannot be seen in any mitigating light. Boy, and there we go. And what are you doing here, you silly little goose? There we go. Anyways, yeah, so thank you very much, William Arends. I know we didn't take a look much at your ATA stuff, but I at least wanted to bring that little bit of tie-in with what we've been seeing anyways with Captain Blackie, and that they did back down and said, don't worry, we'll just imprison him. We're not going to execute him. Oh, anyways, here we go, and then we're off to the after hours after this, which I think is kind of neat. I don't know. I'm just trying to pull in potential viewers for our live stream. I don't know what you call it, a catch and grab or whatever, through the Spotify. I was like, wait a minute, I'll throw in. I mean, it's all audio anyways, but now I find out Spotify does video as well. What the hell? But anyways, I'm just going to do that. Maybe we'll get the odd extra person that pops in, goes, hey, I want to go and take a look at what they do live. Who knows? We'll see. Anyways, here we go. December 29th, 1916 to January 4th, 1917 in Holy F. Are we ever in for it, eh? 3 more days from now, I think, is when the Germans say, let's go with the unrestricted. Oh, my F. And then February, we got the Russians just going berserk. Hit the like button. Oh, wow. Oh, thank you very much, E. for thanks for showing that. I'll be sending you. Oh, thank you, William Arends. Cool. Anyways, here we go. December 29th. Issue of Sir Douglas Haig's dispatch dealing with the Somme battle is published. I don't know if WNN's here around anymore, but I also picked up another from some guy named Winter, and I think WNN would love him. He's really trashes the living dickens out of Douglas Haig like there's no tomorrow. Anyways, heavy fighting continues on the Moldavian frontier with some enemy progress in the Oitus Valley. Enemy advanced north and east from the darn it! I heard Indy Nidell say this nicely. I can't do it. French and British ministers in conference for the last 3 days arrive at a complete agreement. Murder of the Russian monk Rasputin, which Tolemykus knows a hell of a lot more about than I do. Sitting of the National Socialist Congress in Paris, which I think has also got something to do with that. Yet again, what they're going to release, or maybe it was, well, no, that was beforehand. That was from December 12th, wasn't it? That thing from Basel, but I'm wondering if this is a continuation. December 30th, Greek note to the Allies requesting the raising of the blockade. The Southern Slav Committee issues a declaration at the coronation of the Austrian Emperor. The Allies reply to the German peace note that forwards to the American government, which they thought was a bit, I think actually it was the American government that had a bit of a head scratcher because it was released to newspapers before it actually got released to Wilson and the officials. And they were like, what the hell? Spain declines the second President Wilson's proposal. Very heavy fighting on the whole Romanian front. Enemy progress at various points in the mountains and southeast of Râmnicu Sarat, but are checked between there and Foxani. Bulgarians and Turks advance slowly towards Masin. December 31st, further enemy progress in the Moldavian mountains and west and south of Foxani. Bulgarians fail in their attack on the Braia bridgehead, but carry positions east of Makin. Magara, Well, Hassana, and Nakul in the Sinai are cleared of the enemy. Entente note to Greece calling for reparation for the events of December 1st and 2nd with the additional demands included. I say this again. I say this practically every week. This has got game written all over it. Freaking Greeks, Venizelos and royalists versus, Greek royalists versus the British and the French in Athens. Who the hell knew any of that? I would love to see a game on that. January 1st, normal activity proceeding along the Western Front, according to Douglas Haig, who is also promoted to Field Marshal. Stubborn fighting in the Carpathians and the Moldavian frontier. Slight enemy progress at various points with the enemy now in touch with the Serif lines at Foxani and Fundini. Further progress is made by the enemy at the Makin bridgehead in Dobruja. General Wingate becomes High Commissioner of Egypt. And my God, do they ever try to spin what's going on with Romania? Oh, the Western Front, the Germans lost heavily in the Western Front. Okay, so they're taking the Romanian one, but that's only of sentimental value. It's like, yeah, well, maybe for you it is. Jeepers jumping. You don't live there. The transport in Hibernia sunk by submarine in the Mediterranean with 153 reported missing. British carry German lines near Lasaki in the Magat Valley, German East Africa, and pursue the enemy towards the Rufiji Valley at Zimbabwe. Publication of the denunciation by Turkey of the Treaty of Paris of 1856 and the Treaty of Berlin of 1878. January 2nd, Mr. Brianu, Premier of Romania, reconstitutes the cabinet Enemy attack is repulsed near Zlakau in northeast Galicia, which is, I think, in what? Petrograd, for God's sakes now. It's just nuts. Continued heavy fighting in the Moldavian mountains. Enemy advance between the frontier and Foksani with the Russian counterattack successful southeast of the town. Enemy advance near Maaken continues. January 3rd, Germans take the island in Vina near Glandau, northwest of Vinsk. Successful Russian attack near Mount Botosol, Bukovina. Enemy advance in the region of Miklovu, northwest of Foksani. Germans and Bulgarians take Maaken and Jijila in the Dobruja. Admiralty reassert their immemorial right of merchant ships to defend themselves against attack or search by the enemy. And yet again, I wonder if that's got something a little bit to do with the Captain Blackie thingamajig. January 4th, Russian battleship Presviet sunk off a mine off of Port Said. British airmen bombed Maritsa Bridge at Kuleli Burgas, south of Adrianople. And the Germans failed to cross to the right bank of the Vina near Glandau. Enemy advancing Foksani sector and take Gurgeti and Romanul and pierce the Braia bridgehead with the Russians forced to evacuate Braia itself. Russians are also defeated at Bakarani in the Dobruja. That's over with. I can hit this. I can stop the screen. We're there. We're at 12:01. Anything else I'm going to quickly chit-chat about you? That's a Castles of Steel book. It's a radio play that was done for the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Jutland. It's got, I guess, the original BBC thing had like David Tennant and Ian Holm, for crying out loud, as some of the voice actors. All right, I'm about to go off and do the. I'll slap on the after hours. I'm just about to go and pop that on, but I want to obviously say Happy New Year to everyone again. Super glad to see you. Thank you so much for contributing. Hope to goodness I see you next week. Hope you have a great weekend and a great gaming week. I am really interested in spending an afternoon upstairs poking around with that game, Tannenberg. I simply super can't. Oh my God, that's right. Well, folks, I'll try to get some sleep, Meandering, of course. No kidding. With 1 hour rest. Thanks, Harro. I'll be in the plane next time. Whoa, you're coming back from Indonesia, I'm assuming. Either that or you're like Mr. Jet Setter from hell. Anyways, okay, let me go and pop in the playlist, and then, like I said, I'll turn into a texter just like you guys. Brian R. Smith says, Charles used Mechanica comparing attack versus defense factors and take the morale rating to determine if attack is successful. Succeeds leads to the step losses moly. And this is one of those, that's your, you were saying that perhaps it's not very friendly. Oh, no. Things I don't know about. I thought they did a lot better than, or maybe they did pretty good, the stiff defense at the very beginning. Yeah, great. I hope you're doing well. Have a great weekend. I hope to goodness to see you tomorrow. But like I said, I'm so often sleeping by the time you have your thing. Hold on here. I want to get to, all right. I'm just about to, and please let me know if, like I said, you guys can hear it, because I'm going to hit my, I'm going to hit the thingamajig. And one more time. There we go. Bye, guys. And let me know, like I said, if you can hear it when I hit the thingamajig. Here we go for the war summary for December 29th, 1916 to January 4th, 1917. General Maurice, Chief Director of Military Operations in the British War Office, states that the conditions in the Valley of the Somme make it impossible to continue the offensive there. The principal obstacles are shell holes filled with water and fog in the Valley of the Somme, which makes artillery observation difficult. General Maurice says, "We may be able to resume in March," and adds that, "We have done the next best thing. The taking over of a section of the French line has kept us busy during the past 10 days. The operation has been successful, and I will be glad to tell you the exact extent of the line taken over when I'm sure the Germans know the point of junction. The French reports of late have mentioned no points north of the bend of the Somme at Peronne. It will probably be found when the fog lifts that the British Army now holds all the front from a point near Dixmude on the Yasser, where the Belgians take up the task, to a point on the Somme immediately west of Peronne. Official reports tell of great aerial activity on the part of the French and British airmen, directed specially against the blast furnaces and munition plants of the enemy in Lorraine. Many railway stations also were bombed. On the Meuse front, north of Verdun, there have been artillery duels, especially on the west side of the river, Dead Man's Hill and Hill 304. At almost the other end of the far-flung battle line, British aviators are busy. They bombarded Turkish camps at Galata on the Gallipoli Peninsula on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, another group wrecked an important railway bridge east of Adana in southern Asia Minor. Greece is once more in the limelight. A sensational report has been sent out from Salonika by the Venizelos party to the effect that the Greek troops, which surrendered to the Bulgars at Kavala and were thereafter interned in Germany, have been ordered by King Constantine to proceed to the Macedonian front to fight against the Allies. The blockade by the Allied fleets of the Greek ports and coasts is still in force, and the government of Greece has addressed a note to the Entente powers, pointing out the growing popular resentment against the blockade. Unless some action is taken shortly with the view to clearing the situation, the government, it is stated, may be forced to seek the advice of the nation respecting the course to be followed. Constantine is still making as much trouble as he can. The Russians continue to retire in Romania, fighting stubborn rearguard actions. Petrograd admits that in eastern Wallachia, the Tsar's troops have retired to the line of the Rybnik. Berlin says that the Russians have been fighting fiercely to recover the ground lost on Tuesday and on the previous days near Rybnik-Sarat, but that after the Russian counterattacks failed, Prussian and Bavarian infantry stampeded the Russians from their new positions. Farther south, also strongly entrenched Russian lines were pierced. 3,000 prisoners were taken, making a total of 10,220 Russians captured by Mackenson's army in the battles around Rybnik-Sarat. It is clear from the Russian references to the nature of the fighting that the Russians are causing the Teutons heavy losses in these struggles. Along the Moldavian frontier, almost 70 miles to the north of the Wallachian front, the Germans are displaying renewed activity. Petrograd reports that occupation by the enemy of a series of heights near Sermero. This attack is the first sign of a revival of the original German plan of driving across Moldavia direct towards Odessa at a point sufficiently far north to avoid the very difficult country in the delta of the Danube. The Dobruja advance has been of less benefit in the working out of the German plan of campaign than Mackensen at first anticipated, and the Russian forces still on the south side of the Danube, aided by British armored cars, are causing the Teutons heavy losses and tenaciously guarding the river crossings. The German armies in Romania must be draining very heavily upon the reserves at home, for the fighting of the past few weeks has been productive of many casualties, especially since the Russians took the place of the defeated and demoralized Romanian army of Wallachia. General Maurice, Chief Director of Military Operations in the British War Office, says this army is now reforming in Moldavia, and that in Dobruja, the battle line has been moved back to conform with the front north of the Danube. General Maurice adds that both the Russians and Teutons are suffering from adverse weather conditions. The British official report told last night of a German trench raid northwest of Gumercourt. 2 Teuton parties were driven back by artillery and rifle fire. The third party reached the trenches but was immediately ejected. There was considerable artillery activity on both sides of the Somme area and the Ypres sector. There's going to be a page, I'm not sure if it's this one, but there's a huge chunk that's blacked out, and I'm going to have to ad-lib a bit, and we'll see how it goes. Sir Douglas Haig's review of the Somme offensive and his deductions therefrom should be read this morning by all who are interested in the success of the Allied cause. It is the opinion of the British Commander-in-Chief that while the enemy's power has not yet been broken, nor is it yet possible to form an estimate as to how long the war will last, the Somme battle has placed beyond doubt the result. The German army, continues Sir Douglas, is the mainstay of the Central Powers, and a full half of that army, despite all advantages of the defensive and supported by the strongest fortifications, suffered defeat on the Somme this summer. Neither the victors nor the vanquished will forget this, and although bad weather has given the enemy a respite, there are many thousands in his ranks who will begin the new campaign with little confidence in their ability to resist our assaults or overcome our defense. These few carefully chosen words tell this whole story. The Somme battle has placed beyond doubt the result. Compared with the victory of the Allies there and at Verdun, that of the Teutons in Romania is but a small affair in a military sense, although important sentimentally. There has been a sudden revival of German activity on the west bank of the Meuse north of Verdun. After artillery preparation of unusual violence, the Germans on Thursday afternoon entered some French positions on Hill 304 and on the southern slope of Dead Man's Hill, capturing 220 prisoners and 7 machine guns. A small portion of trenches penetrated was retained. The French report says an assault took place on a front of over 1,000 yards and that it was broken almost everywhere by artillery and machine gun fire. Only a few of the enemy's troops penetrated one of the French trenches. The action was continued yesterday. Paris tells of further heavy bombardments and grenade attacks, which were promptly repelled. Berlin says that French counterattacked to regain the lost ground lost on Dead Man's Hill and failed to do so. It is not improbable that on the relatively firm soil of the heights of the Meuse, there may be heavy fighting again for a time while the armies wait to be drying up of the mud in the Somme Valley. The new German offensive in the valley of the Oitis on the Moldavian frontier makes headway. Petrograd admits that the enemy's advances continue at several points and adds that battles are taking place for domination of the heights in the region east of Cermeno. Berlin states that the Germans and Austrians in this region have captured by storm several positions lying one behind the other and have taken 1,400 prisoners, 18 machine guns, and 3 cannon. The scene of these battles is in the most southerly regions of the Carpathians, where they join the southern mountain range known as the Transylvanian Alps. In western Wallachia, fierce fighting continues to the northwest of Ribnik-Sarat. There, the Germans, it is claimed, have broken the strong resistance of the Romanians and Russians and reached a point about 12 miles northwest of Ribnik-Sarat. Farther south in this region, between the Ribnik River and the Buzău, the retiring Russians are reported to have been turned out of prepared positions before they had time to settle themselves in them. The frantic haste with which Mackensen presses forward, despite heavy losses, shows that he is very anxious to reach Braia and Galatz before the great stores of grain in these cities can be entirely removed. Up to the present, Romania has yielded little oil and still less grain for the peasants. Fleeing from their homes, took much of the season's produce in their wagons, and the chief storage centers for cereals are on the lower Danube, in the region still held by the Romanians and Russians. If Baria and Galatz do not yield many million bushels of grain, Mackensen's drive as a means of adding to the Teuton stores of food will be a failure. Exhaustion year long of the enemy's manpower as well as of his food supply is a possibility. Hilaire Belloc, who has been keeping very close watch upon the reports of the losses of all belligerents, says that for every 65 men to the enemy now has in action or in field depots and home armies, there are in sight drafts of about 20 to supply the wastage until the late part of next summer. This is, in his opinion, is grossly insufficient. The failure of a supply of men to make good of the war wastage is, Mr. Belloc believes, the whole cause of Germany's desire for peace. The British Night Report tells of a successful raid east of La Save on the Ancre front. The German trenches penetrated were found to have been greatly damaged. The Germans attempted to raid the British lines east of Armentières, but were repulsed. There has been an increase of artillery activity on both sides, and south of the Ancre, the cannonade is spoken of as having reached a pitch of some intensity. The year passed amid comparative calm on the Western battlefront, but there were violent engagements yesterday at various points in the eastern sphere of operations. Mackinson's armies continued to fight their way toward Berea and Galatz from the northwest and from the south, despite the violent resistance of the Russians and Romanians. An official statement from Berlin announces progress on the Moldavian frontier north of the Uzul Valley, where some heights were captured from the Russians, and it is stated, maintained against strong counter-thrusts. In the valley of the Oituz, also gains have been made by the invaders. Here comes another giant blackout chunk on the page. I'll try the best I can. More strenuous and successful resistance is offered to the Teuton advance north and northeast of Rymnik-Sarat. The Russian and Romanian armies hold positions of the southern slopes of the Transylvanian Alps, and after strenuous attack, the Germans succeeded in taking their position, but as the Berlin report mentions, they repulsed strong counterattacks. It is evident the Russians are clinging to their ground with utmost tenacity. Farther south, in the extremity of the Great Plain of the Wallachia, Mackinson's army of the Danube is advancing to a strongly fortified line held by the Russians and Romanians. Why not? Southwest of Berea, or probably Russians. Well, it doesn't matter now. Galatz and southwest of Berea. The progress of the invaders among the past 3 weeks has been slow and has cost them great lists of casualties. This part of the Eastern Front, wow, that was a bad scan, wasn't it? Campaigning in Volhynia, maybe the original wasn't very good. So campaigning in Volhynia and Galicia. He defends with resolution the ground taken up, but it is prepared to move back to freshly prepared lines if the enemy pays the price required for victory. Brusilov is evidently not concerned over the slow evacuation of Romanian territory, so long as in moving back, he is destroying Germany's manpower. Fascinating way of looking at it. A late dispatch from Petrograd states that in the region between Fokshani and Rymnik-Sarat, Russian and Romanian troops dislodged the enemy from the village of Bogdeshki, which he has occupied on Saturday. Enemy attacks along the line of railway running from Buzău to Berea were also repelled, and during these struggles, the enemy suffered severe losses. I guess the last page would have been Buzău to Berea as well, not to Galatz. For the most part, however, this report concurs with that from Berlin in admitting that as a result of repeated attacks by a strongly reinforced army, Falkenhayn has been able to improve his position on the Moldavian frontier. In these engagements, it is stated that a considerable number of prisoners have been taken, chiefly Romanians. Berea, Berlin now says, is threatened as a result of the Teutonic operations. Dispatches from Paris state that during the past 5 days, there's been comparatively little activity on the Macedonian front. The artillery bombardment has been spirited in the Monastir sector, and Italian troops have repulsed some Bulgar advances in the vicinity of Lake Presba. The British Army has carried out a number of raids on the Struma and dropped bombs on Demir Hisar. Climatic conditions in the mountains are entirely too severe for important infantry operations. Conditions in Greece again cause anxiety. The Allies yesterday presented King Constantine's government their demand for reparation on account of the losses sustained during the recent clash between Greek and Allied troops. On the day before the receipt of this demand, a cabinet council had been held at the palace at which the king presided. As a result of this meeting, the king instructed the general staff to hasten by all means the transport of the troops southward from Thessaly. This, it was anticipated, would be completed by January 5th, and it was hoped that after that date, the blockade instituted by the Allies would be lifted. On the Western Front, the day passed in relatively calm, and the last bulletin from Paris for the year 1916 announced that no event of importance had occurred. It is added in this bulletin that in the course of the year, the French troops, in breaking the assault against Verdun and in forcing the enemy to withdraw on both banks of the Somme, have taken 78,508 German prisoners. These together, with 38,000 reported by Sir Douglas Haig as having been taken by the British troops, make a grand total of 116,000 men captured on the Western Front during the season's operations. British reports from the Somme region last night announced that during the day, the enemy defenses southeast of Le Transloy had been effectively bombarded and that an ammunition dump had been blown up. In the region to Martinpuich, the German artillery yesterday was more active than usual, but no infantry movements are reported. The bridge across lies north of Neufchâtel was also destroyed early on Sunday morning by British artillery fire. On the Italian Trieste front, there's been a marked revival of artillery activity. In reprisal, the Austrians have shelled the city and suburbs of Gorizia without inflicting any damage of importance. There is no information confirming the statement that the Austrians are gathering a large body of troops on the Trentino front with the object of renewing their attempt to penetrate to the Italian plain and force the abandonment by this means of General Cadorna's campaign against the Istrian cities. The loss of the French pre-dreadnought battleship Gaulois, which was torpedoed in the Mediterranean on Wednesday last, was fortunately accompanied by a minimum of fatalities. Only 4 of the crew perished. France has many fine new battleships ready for commission or nearing completion, and the crew of the Gaulois can be transferred to one of them. Brăila, one of Romania's great grain ports, is probably today under the fire of Mackenson's guns, located on the south bank of the Danube. A report from Berlin states that on Sunday in the Dobruja, a Russian bridgehead position on the river near Brăila was taken, together with 1,000 men, 4 cannon, and 8 machine guns. The Danube at this point is a wide and rapidly flowing river, but from the south bank, the harbor and the grain elevators can be effectively bombarded. If the elevators and warehouses of Brăila have not been emptied by this time, there's little prospect of saving any more of the grain contained in them. The approach to Brăila from the west is less rapid. Petrograd reports announced that at noon on Sunday, the Teutons attacked to the west of the city, but were beaten back by the Russians' rifle fire and retired in disorder. They are entrenching themselves in positions 200 or 300 yards from the Russian lines. Petrograd admits also that a strong German force, which assumed the offensive in the Dobruja, pressed back the Russian troops, which retired on their next line of defense. Falkenhayn's 9th Army continues to make fairly rapid progress in the region north of Rymnik-Sarat. This army is advancing northward along the railway and has now reached a point almost due west of Galatz. An enveloping movement directly to the east in strength may greatly embarrass the defenders of both Brăila and Galatz. The line of the Sereth, which joins the Danube at Galatz, is reported to have been very strongly fortified by the Russians, and upon that line they rely for the holding of the greater part of Moldavia. Farther north in the Uzul Valley, the Romanians and the Russians are under severe pressure. Berlin states that the Teutons took by storm several strong positions on the heights. Petrograd claims that the Romanians maintained their positions in the face of severe pressure, except in the region west of Folkshani, near the source of the Rymnik River. The Teutons' Romanian offensive is on a larger scale than was anticipated by the Russians when they made their dispositions for the aid of the Romanians. A very large proportion of Brusilov's reserves will have to be moved up to the line of the Sereth if it is to be held against the persistent attacks of Mackenson's armies. There has been fighting near Pinsk, in the region of the Pripyat marshes, where 2 Russian points of support were stormed by the Germans. Only a few prisoners were taken, and the affair was clearly little more than an engagement of outposts. Petrograd states that this engagement south of Pinsk was preceded by a fierce artillery fire, but that all attempts of the enemy to penetrate to the Russian trenches were beaten back by an energetic counteroffensive. Hold on, I'm just going to take a sip of water. The Germans attacked in the Champagne on Sunday after a violent bombardment. Twice assaults were launched on the French positions west of Auberive. These attacks were completely repulsed. The only point at which there was marked activity on New Year's Day was on the right bank on the Meuse, where the Germans directed a strong surprise attack against trenches won recently by the French east of the Chambret farm. The attack failed completely. On the major part of the fronts, the day was calm. More British raids into German trenches east of Armentieres were reported by General Haig last night. A hostile patrol reached the British lines north of Ypres, but was immediately driven out. The enemy artillery was unusually active north of the Ancre River. The enemy is defending every yard of ground. This phrase, taken from the Vienna official report of January 1st, indicates that the struggle of the Moldavian frontier is of a far more serious nature than the Berlin dispatches admit. Day after day, the German reports tell of the capture of heights in the Carpathians, particularly in the region to the north of the Oituz Pass, but little is said of the losses entailed in this midwinter mountain warfare. The general plan of von Mackensen is to follow the various tributaries of the Sereth down to the point of confluence, and by winning a foothold on the easterly bank of that river, to turn the formidable system of defenses constructed along its lower reaches. Reports from Berlin and Petrograd last night indicated that the struggle for the control of the Sereth lines proceeds continuously with great violence. Petrograd, describing some of the phases of the struggle, speaks of the bombardment of their lines with artillery of all calibers, the repulse of the Austrians with heavy losses, and at another point of the great losses suffered by the enemy. The Romanians in the region northeast of Ribnik-Sarat are said to be holding their positions, notwithstanding continuous and fierce attacks of the enemy. Russian officials are not given to overstatement, and when the war offices use such phrases, it is certain that the struggle in the Carpathians is a violent and sanguinary character. Almost a month has passed since the fall of Bucharest. During that time, the Teutons, who overran Western Wallachia with extraordinary rapidity, have made somewhat less than 2 miles a day on an average in their eastward sweep, and have reached, hold on, I gotta get back here, where are we? And have now reached positions in which Brusilov seems disposed to make a Petrograd stand, protracted stand. Boy, that would be bad. The number of prisoners now taken is relatively small. Berlin claims 300 in the Oituz Valley on Sunday and Monday, and 1,300 in the region northeast of Ribnik-Sarat. The approaches to Braia on the west bank of the Danube are now held by the Russo-Romanians without any farther falling back, while in the Dobruja on the east bank of the river, the Russians have fallen back to Machin and are preparing to resist the passage of the Danube. Galatz, although only a few miles down the river from Braia, may hold out for a considerable time, as the Germans, to reach it, must cross the Sereth or the Danube at a point below the junction of the Sereth with the greater stream. There has been some activity in the region to the southwest of Brody and Galicia, but the Germans who took the offensive there were speedily driven back to their trenches. The move had for its object, no doubt, the trying of the Russian lines to discover whether or not they had been weakened by the dispatch of aid to the Romanians. Interesting. On the Western Front, there's been some activity on the part of patrols. The Germans show increased enterprise in these affairs. At Vermel, a patrol succeeded in reaching the British trenches, but was repulsed with the loss of half its numbers. North of Ypres, another German patrol of 40 men was driven back after losing heavily. German and British batteries are very busy between the Somme and the Ancre and in the region of Armentieres. A Berlin dispatch says that thousands of cannon of all sizes are being turned out in the German arsenals, and that many mechanics have been sent back from the front to Krupps and other munition-making plants with the object of speeding up the output before the spring campaign begins. The Germans appear to be apprehensive of an Allied attack from the neighborhood of Verdun towards Metz. It is pointed out that British troops aiding the French in such an offensive would be handicapped by transportation difficulties. The bulk of the supplies for the Verdun operations have had to be hauled in by motor, the railway which passes through Verdun towards the frontier being entirely insufficient for the feeding and munitioning of a large army. The Allies are totaling up their 1916 catch of prisoners. The honors go to Russia, which took during the year over 400,000 Germans and Austrians. France came next with 70,500 Germans captured on the West Front, where the British took 40,800 of the enemy. The Italians captured 52,250 Austrians, and in Serbia and Macedonia, the Allies took 11,173 Bulgars and Turks. These totals are vastly greater than the numbers captured by the Central Powers, whose biggest hauls during the year were at Verdun, in the Trentino, and in Romania. Their total at the most would not be over 250,000. On balance, the Allies are at least 300,000 prisoners ahead on the year's operations. What a crazy paragraph. Paris begins to take seriously the views of a number of Frenchmen of weight that Germany is preparing to violate Swiss neutrality. Oh my gosh. And to try to turn the French defenses on the eastern frontier by an advance across the passes of the Jura Range towards Besançon. Hold on here, I got to take another sip of water. It is pointed out that recent mobilization orders will give Hindenburg at least 1 million more men, and that under present conditions, they cannot be used on the Eastern Front to advantage. A dash across Switzerland to an unprotected part of the French frontier would be regarded by the warlords who violated the neutrality of Belgium as a small offense against the laws of nations. The possibility of invasion by way of Switzerland has led to a demand in Paris for precautionary measures, which would involve the taking over by the British Army of a larger part of the front in northern France and the creation of a mobile French army prepared for instant conveyance to any threatened point on the frontier. Excuse me. The Germans have occupied Machen in the Dobruja on the east bank of the Danube, about 5 miles above Beria. The river at Machen takes an abrupt turn to the west. At Beria, it turns as abruptly to the north again until the mouth of the Sereth is reached. Control by Mackensen of the Danube at Machen gives him the opportunity to make direct hits on the harbor of Beria with long-range artillery. The evacuation of the city, therefore, becomes necessary to avoid its destruction. Beria, by this time, can be little more than an empty shell. The grain and oil stored there at Galatz should long ago have been removed. Hold on, I'm going to change the page. Well to the east of the Serif lines, either to Moldavia or Bessarabia. On that part of the Romanian front between the Danube and the Carpathians, there has been heavy fighting. The Russians, as they near their defensive positions in the valley of the Sereth, are resisting more strenuously the attacks of von Falkenhayn's Ninth Army and are occasionally turning and driving back the advancing Teutons. Petrograd reports that in one of these actions on Tuesday, 3 villages south of the Rybnik River occupied by the enemy's vanguard were recaptured. 8 officers and 205 men were taken. I think this is the first time we've actually seen that mention of officers and non-officers, which I've been wanting to see. I love seeing the percentages, as well as 5 guns and 8 machine guns. A few miles to the north in the Shani region, the Germans attacked in close formation along the railway under cover of an intense bombardment. The Russian fire was so effective in reply that the enemy retired to his trenches. The form of this report would indicate that Fokshani lies within the territory the Russians intend to defend. If that should prove to be the case, a great battle will shortly be fought in the plain to the south of that town. The right of the Russian army rests on a spur of the Carpathians north of Folkshani. The Germans may turn this position by their advance down the Trotus Valley, but there's little prospect of a successful frontal attack. The strength of the defensive positions they are now approaching is well known to the Germans, and they are redoubling their exertions in the Giemis and Oitus passes in the hope of rendering the Serif lines untenable. The Romanian army of Moldavia is holding grimly to its positions on this part of the front, and the Russians farther north in the Dorna-Batra region are also standing fast. The British campaign against the climate of Mesopotamia continues. A dispatch from the Tigris front states that during the past week, rain has fallen almost daily and has reduced the ground in the region of Kut El Amara to a morass. In spite of these adverse conditions, further progress has been made on the right bank of the Tigris in the direction of Kut. Yeah, it must be that all the swamps coming in, all that flooding area again. On the west front, Paris at midnight reported the usual cannonade at various points. The Belgians, who have much new heavy artillery and plenty of projectiles, are using their guns freely. They report serious damage to the German positions near Strandstad yesterday. Last paragraph. The British, and it's a small one, the British report tells of enemy artillery activity on the southern part of the Ypres salient and in the neighborhood of Souchez. The Canadians are on that part of the front, immediately north of Souchez in the Loos-Huluk sector. Some of them may be as far south as the Vimy Ridge. And that's it. And I hope you guys have a great week and hope to see you next one. All right. Bye.